My family always treated me as second best to my perfect brother. At his graduation, they humiliated me publicly, so I cut them off for good. I still remember the sting of humiliation at my brother's graduation ceremony. What should have been a day of celebration for Marcus turned into another painful reminder of my place in our family hierarchy. The auditorium buzzed with excitement as families gathered to honor their graduates. I sat rigidly in my seat, already feeling like an outsider among my own relatives. When my parents approached the podium to give their congratulatory speech, I expected the usual praise for Marcus. He had worked diligently through medical school and secured a residency at a prestigious hospital in Boston. He deserved recognition. What I didn't expect was how casually they'd diminish me in the process. "Marcus has always been our greatest accomplishment," my father announced proudly. "We often joke that we should have stopped having children after him." Laughter rippled through the audience. Second children rarely measure up, and we could have invested all that time and energy solely into Marcus. I scanned the room, hoping to catch anyone, looking uncomfortable with these jokes. Instead, I saw only amused smiles and nodding heads. My uncle even slapped his knee in appreciation. This wasn't the first time my parents had made me feel inferior, but it was the first time they'd done it so publicly. Growing up in Portland as the second child, I had become accustomed to our household's implied preference. It manifested in countless ways: forgotten birthdays while Marcus enjoyed elaborate celebrations, criticism of my outgoing personality while Marcus's reserved nature was praised, and the constant comparisons that always found me lacking. For years, I'd tried to reshape myself into someone they might love equally. I studied architecture with determination, thinking my achievements might finally earn their approval. Eventually, I recognized the futility of this pursuit. We were fundamentally different people, and I could never become a replica of my brother. All these wounds had at least remained private until that graduation ceremony. As my parents continued their speech, lavishing praise on Marcus and announcing they'd bought him a new car as a graduation gift, I felt completely erased. The three of them embraced while the audience applauded, and I sat alone, an outsider witnessing a family to which I apparently didn't fully belong. That evening, after years of silently enduring their favoritism, I finally confronted my parents. I summoned the courage, hoping they might recognize how deeply their behavior had hurt me. Their response was devastating. "You're overreacting," my mother said dismissively. "It was just a harmless joke." My father was more direct. "We have nothing to be proud of when it comes to you. Don't blame us if we're disappointed." Even Marcus, whom I'd never resented despite our parents' favoritism, failed to support me. "If you worked hard like I did, maybe they'd be proud of you too," he said, as if my years of effort were invisible to him. That conversation changed everything. I stopped seeking their approval and poured my energy into building my own life. 2 years later, my dedication paid off when I received a full scholarship to study advanced architectural design at a university in Chicago. When I shared the news, their shocked expressions revealed how little they'd believed in me. My mother's response, that it was fortunate I'd received a scholarship since they hadn't set aside college funds for me, confirmed what I'd long suspected about my place in the family. I moved to Chicago and made the difficult decision to cut all contact with my family. They sent messages for months afterward, not with apologies but with accusations that I was being immature and breaking apart the family. I never responded. My new life in Chicago flourished. Working part-time at a local cafe while completing my studies, I built genuine connections with people who appreciated me for who I was. The freedom from constant comparison allowed me to discover my own strengths and passions. Then yesterday, after 3 years of silence, an unexpected email arrived from my parents. They urged me to contact them immediately about bad news. Despite everything, fear gripped me. Had someone died? Was someone critically ill? My heart raced as I unblocked their number and called. The news shocked me. Marcus, the golden child, had developed a serious cocaine addiction. He'd lost his medical residency, depleted his savings, and was now without resources or options. I could hardly believe it. My brother had always been the stable, responsible one. Learning that he'd fallen victim to addiction was jarring. What disturbed me more was my parents' reaction. They seemed less concerned about Marcus's well-being than about preserving their reputation. "You didn't introduce him to drugs back then, did you?" my father asked suspiciously. The implication was absurd. I hadn't spoken to Marcus in years, and I'd never used drugs myself. Faced with the shattering of their perfect image of Marcus, they immediately looked for someone else to blame. Throughout our conversation, my parents focused on the potential embarrassment rather than getting Marcus the help he needed. My mother fretted about what others would think if they discovered this flaw in her perfect son. "We need you to come home and help us take care of him," she pleaded. "What do we even do? I'm so ashamed." I suggested a rehabilitation facility with professional help, but my father immediately rejected the idea. "We can't send him somewhere like that." "What would people think?" he practically hissed. "The three of us can watch him at home. No one needs to know about this." Their plan was to hide Marcus's problems rather than address them properly. They wanted me to participate in this charade, taking time off from my studies and job to help maintain their facade. I told them I needed time to think, but internally I was conflicted. Part of me wanted to help Marcus, to ensure he received proper care. Another part resisted being pulled back into their toxic dynamic after finally finding peace. After much reflection and encouragement from friends, I decided to contact Marcus directly, rather than rely on my parents' interpretation of events. When we finally spoke, his voice sounded hollow compared to the confident brother I remembered. He revealed that his addiction had begun shortly after starting his residency. The pressure to perform perfectly, to continue being the exceptional son our parents expected, had become overwhelming. "I couldn't stop or slow down," he explained quietly. "Everyone expected so much, and I couldn't disappoint them." What began as occasional use to manage stress had evolved into dependence. He'd maintained appearances until he could no longer hide his struggle, eventually losing everything. "Are you judging me as harshly as I'm judging myself?" he asked. "I'm so ashamed to even tell you this." My heart ached hearing his story. I'd never realized that being placed on a pedestal had been its own kind of prison. While I'd suffered from being overlooked, he'd suffocated under the weight of impossible expectations. Our parents' approach to parenting had damaged us both, just in different ways. "I wish you'd told me sooner," I said. "I would have been there for you. As I consider my next steps, I understand more clearly how our family's dysfunction affected us both. The golden child and the forgotten one, two sides of the same damaging coin. If you've experienced similar family dynamics, remember that you're not alone. Sometimes the children put on pedestals suffer just as deeply as those left in the shadows. Please subscribe to our channel for more real-life stories that help us understand the complex nature of family relationships.